choose the black side of the force. Do it. Yep, that's how I'm gonna start out the video. I'm Alex Will 64. How you doing out there? I'm on Instagram, Alex Will 64, Eat the Realist or whatever. And like the title suggests, we're gonna be getting into the black side of the force. You've heard of the light side of the force. You've heard of the dark side of the force, but I don't think you really heard of the black side. Yeah, I don't think you really heard of it. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram or whatever. Say I've been posting about it for a while. And the reason I say black side rather than light or dark is because I don't need to deal with that dichotomy, or that schism or that divide between the force. I don't need to do that. We just deal with higher levels of the force than just one side or another. Because now you're putting in your morality when you're talking about, is this the light thing to do or the dark thing to do? It's like, well, some things we do with both. We split it down the middle. We do it both. You're gonna have to use your light and your dark side if you want to deal with that. But that's we'll get into those type of politics or whatever. But this is the book here, this here that I wanted to get into. Notice that it says right up top Star Wars, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know how deeply you're into this, or if you don't know nothing about it. You just know about Darth Vader and Yoda's and Luke Skywalker and all that. You're probably not into this geeky nerdy stuff like that, huh? You probably ain't even into this shit, is you? But some of y'all is. Some of y'all is surprised me. Like, what I'm saying, y'all be into it. But this is a book written dealing with the mythos of the whole Star Wars franchise, and it's called the Book of Sith, as you can see, Exhibit A. They also, the authors or whoever put these books together, they also have a book for Jedi's. They also have a book for the Mandalorian. Great show. I would suggest anybody, if you got Disney Plus, or if you somebody got Disney Plus and they letting you use it. You know what I'm saying? You could do it like that too. Watch The Mandalorian, because The Mandalorian is a pretty good show. They, what I'm saying, they fucked up with the Star Wars sequels with the Ray and the Poe and what's his name, Finn, and all that shit. And Kylo Ren and all that shit. Kylo Ren is alright. I like the mask and shit. But they have this special chronicle book for each of these different sides of the Star Wars canon or the Star Wars franchise. So this one obviously deals with the Sith, which they mostly deal with the dark side of the Force. However, I'm coming here to talk to you about the black side of the Force, because this is where we're dealing with alchemy. And throughout this book, they're dealing with alchemy dressed up as different Star Wars terms. You know what I'm saying? Because it's supposed to be a fictional book. Like, for example, we know that Darth Vader and uh, Darth Sidious and all that stuff. They know these are fictional characters from Star Wars, right? I mean, like I said, I don't know if you fell in love with the first three movies from the 70s and 80s, you know what I'm saying, or if you're a diehard Star Wars fan out there, but you know about the Sith, you know what I'm saying? It's a whole movie, Revenge of the Sith, that came out in 2005. So this is what this is. And what it's supposed to be is, it's a book that is fictionally compiled or edited by Darth Sidious. So that's the Emperor. So if you ever watched the first three movies of the Star Wars franchise, back in the 70s and 80s, the Emperor. So he's the pale motherfucker. That's the villain. He's wearing the cloak, the black hood, and whatever, and he's trying to get Luke to join the dark side, just like his father, Darth Vader. So this is a book that fictionally he compiled. You know what I'm saying? But the actual author of the book is a guy named what's his name? Daniel Wallace. You know what I'm saying? So Daniel Wallace wrote this book. He wrote all these chronicle books that, like I said, they're books that deal with different areas of the Star Wars franchise and shit. So this is what it looks like here. Secrets from the dark side. But we're going to get into the black side of the Force with this. Because even though this is a fictional ass book and shit, it has a lot of truths in it. because I started not to buy it because I just wanted to watch, like, look at it online somewhere, and you can get it online. You just type in Book of Sith as you do any book that you try to get as a PDF, and they got like a website where you can like it's like a virtual book where you can turn the page and shit like that. Pretty innovative, pretty innovative. But and this book here is actually like a compilation of 6 different books, and they do that by giving you 6 different type of pages. So with each book, there's a different type of page or different type of paper that they're using. You know what I'm saying? See that the different edges, like the edges, signify like a different book. So it's really 6 books in one. And Darth Sidious, again, he's taking books and writings from the Sith over the years, and he compiled it into this book. So we're dealing with a grimoire here. This is a straight up grimoire. This is a book of magic. This is a book of alchemy. Because every author in here, so it's about 6 different authors, including Darth Sidious himself, where they're talking about the Force. So let me just explain the Force for you Force ignorance, because there's Force sensitive. So the Force is basically the spirit. It's the energy or force or life energy that controls all things in the galaxy. You know what I'm saying? There's people that are born with the ability to use the Force. Like, for example, when you use the Force, you can do all types of different things. You can be telekinetic, you can fly, you can use electricity, you can manipulate fire, you can use Jedi or Sith mind tricks to control other people. You can do all types of, you know what I'm saying, gutter shit on niggas. You know what I'm saying? Do niggas still say gutter or grimy? You know what I'm saying? Or green. I remember I was in Florida, they said, yeah, that niggas over there is green. It's like, okay, they look, their phenotype look like they're copper color, so why do you call them green? But like I said, it's, grimy niggas, like real shisty, dirty, shady, throwing shade ass niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like they said in Belly, they was talking about knowledge, and it was like, he old shisty ass niggas. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of shisty shit you can do. Or on the flip side, for you light, love and light type motherfuckers, you can heal people. You know what I'm saying? You can heal them. You know what I'm saying? You can soothe them during pregnancy like a doula. A doula can use the light side of the force to calm a mother as she's pushing her, offspring through the birth canal. So there's, like I said, there's a good sides, I guess, and then there's the bad sides. But we not getting into. If you want to get into a side, get into the alchemy, because this is really a book of alchemy. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, they're using alchemical knowledge, alchemical terms, alchemical procedures, but they're dressing it up in Star Wars, shall I say, vernacular or Star Wars terminology. So if you're not an alchemist, you wouldn't even recognize what the fuck they're talking about. They even use the word alchemy in the book. You know what I'm saying? But again, if you're not already an alchemist, you wouldn't appreciate the type of information that's put into this book. So this is another instance where I don't know if the author Daniel Wallace was the one that really wrote this book. You know what I'm saying? Because we're going back to the whole Judy K. King thing when we're talking about, balls of fire and ISIS thesis, and niggas still, thinking that she didn't write the book. So I think in this instance, this might be the same thing, because I don't know this Daniel Wallace dude. I just know that he wrote all these Star Wars books. So I don't know what sources he's pulling from, but I know he's pulling from alchemy. I know if he really did write this shit here, I know he knows some things about alchemy. He's probably an occultist himself. You have to be an occultist to write this type of shit. You have to be. But that goes into a more depthical excursion where we're saying that the whole Star Wars thing is a black thing. And that's not a secret to anybody. You know what I'm saying? It's not a secret. That's our science, man. This whole the force. Let me finish explaining the force. I ain't even really get into it. The force, like I said, it's the spirit of things. So we would call the ether the spirits or the supreme being or the supreme intelligence. You know what I'm saying? this energetic force that controls all life and all things in the universe or in the cosmos. So if you watch the movie, what's the movie? Avatar, for example, they say that the force in that movie would be called Awa. They call it Awa in that movie. You know what I'm saying? And people knew about all this. Like I said, we that was one of the reasons why Star Wars became so much of a big ass hit back in the 70s and 80s is because the spiritual element to it. Especially when Yoda explains the Force in what was that? Empire Strikes Back, where he's getting training or he's giving training to Luke Skywalker, right? So he goes into that whole speech about what the Force is. And it's very spiritual because that's basically he took that shit is our shit. So don't get turned off by the Caucasoid faces in the alien forms. Like no, that's the fundamental core of what Star Wars is. That's our shit. You already know this. I'm just giving you a fresh little recap and shit. That's our stuff. Because who better to use the Force than those who are, God's people or those, those of us that have that, you know what I'm saying, that tie back to the indigenous cultures in all over the galaxy. Or just this earth, if you want to say just this earth. That would be you and that would be me. That would be those who look like they're black. Those you say that is black. You know what I'm saying? That's our shit. And then that's what we've been using for for millennia. You know what I'm saying? It's not a secret. And you already know that there's words and terms in the Star Wars franchise that relate back to some of the stuff that we already know about. Like, for example, when they're using Darth, they talk about Doth or Dot, or that usually the mysterious missing Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. The tree, you know what I'm saying, that leads to the Tree of Knowledge. We talk about the clip off and all that stuff for all you occultists out there. But and then like I said, the Jed pillar, you know what I'm saying, that you see in Kemetic or ancient Egyptian illustrations, and you know what I'm saying, hieroglyphs, where they have the Jed pillar where it's like a pillar or a pole or some sort of tower, and it has these rungs on it. You know what I'm saying? The Jed pillar, the Jed. So we know that Jedi comes. We know that George Lucas took that shit from knowing these type of things. But again, we don't know if it's just him. It could have been anybody. You know what I'm saying? That it could have been a group of people that worked on this shit, not just him. You know what I'm saying? You never know. He's just maybe the face of it. Maybe he came up with the core idea, and like I said, even now he signed his work over to Disney Corporation, and now he got all these people building on the shit that was established 40, 50 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So we already know about all that. You know what I mean? And I think someone said before that the name Yoda comes from a term that they use somewhere in Freemasonry. When you get up to the higher degrees of Freemasonry, you'll come across the term Yoda and shit. So, like I said, we all know that there's a lot of masonry and alchemy and Kabbalah shit going on with Star Wars. You probably already know that. If not, like I said, there's videos on YouTube where people are probably explaining this shit. But I want to get into this book here, because we're going to get into the black side of the Force. Learn to use the black side of the motherfucking Force. Because all that weak shit, it has to be spit on, kicked on, and thrown in the trash. We got to deal with stronger things. You know what I'm saying? We got to spit on that weak shit, man. Go ahead. Because I respect power, and that's one of the reasons why I bought this here book. So you got Darth Sidious, right? The Emperor, Palpatine, right? He is basically he puts together this 6 books, where one of his books his book is the last book of this whole thing, and then there's 5 other books from 5 other Sith lords that have existed throughout Star Wars history. So you don't have to be. I'm not going to stress the names, but I'm just give you the names of everybody involved. So you have Sources Sin, She's a Sith woman that existed years ago. Then you have Darth Malgus. Then you have Darth Bane. Then you have Mother Talzin. Then you have Darth Plagueis, and then you have Darth Sidious. So the names are really that important unless you get into the Star Wars the Star Wars canon and its franchise or whatever, then it would be important. But I'm just giving you the 6 different authors that contributed, fictional authors that contributed to this work. And like I said, it's a compilation. So, it's 6 different perspectives on the dark side of the Force. So what you'll get is there's, like I said, these 6 different authors, don't fully agree with each other. So I like that. So each of these 6 people have different views of this power, this dark side, power. And what I like about that is, like I said, even though, like, for example, I may be into the cult and you may be into the cult, that does not mean that you're going to have the same approach. Or, for example, if you're into metaphysics or whatever, you're not going to share the same approach based on the fact that you have a whole different experience set than I do. So you're going to see things differently than I do. It doesn't make me wrong. It doesn't make you right. Or it doesn't make me right. It doesn't make you wrong. It's just that you, from how you experience life in your current incarnation here, you have a set of ideals. You have a set of beliefs. Believe it or not, everybody has beliefs. You know what I'm saying? You believe that your motherfucking barber is going to cut your shit and make your shit look right so you can get the biddies. You know what I'm saying? Or as a woman, you believe that your vagina is so good that there's no man that can resist after they hit it. So you have these beliefs. They may not be true. They may be true. They may be true to an extent. They may be true only when certain conditions are met. You know what I'm saying? But that's your truth. This is my truth. So this is what I like about this Sith book. They don't all agree on the same things. You know what I'm saying? They even have a problem with each other's view of the motherfucking Force. You know what I'm saying? This spiritual intelligence or this spiritual energy that encompasses everything in existence. They don't all have the same approach. They don't all have that. And that's cool. That's fine. Because as a person coming into it, it's like, okay, I see what she's saying. I see what he's saying. I see what he's saying. I see what she, and so on and so forth. So then you can then have your own perspective. So, because what I'm not about to do is sit up here and keep debating and arguing my perspective. Now, if my perspective changes, upon just, a few debates with you, then that's cool. But if I have a perspective that I'm set on, I'm just going to be set on it. You know what I'm saying? That's my belief. Who's going to sit there and argue with a fucking Christian all day? If this motherfucker's then decided that Jesus is his savior and they need to, drink his blood or whatever, do all types of vampiric shit with that nigga and eat his flesh, then let the nigga do it. I'm not going to sit here and say he's right or wrong. For what? Because this is all going back to magic and power. So if Christ gives this nigga the power to compel niggas, then let Christ be his motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Even within the Christian circle itself, not everybody approaches Jesus Christ and all that shit the same way either. So what kind of Christian are you talking about? Because I know Christians that, like I said, they may just deal with the principles that you get from the Bible, but they don't deal with nothing else. They're just a Christian by principle, not by sitting here following behind and worshiping a fucking Caucasoid on a cross. They just deal with the principle. You know what I'm saying? Turn the other cheek, uh, give alms. That's all they do. They don't do nothing beyond that. But I'm getting sidetracked and shit. Learn to use the black side of the Force. Spit on weak shit. So what you also see in this book is that there's a few other fictional people taking notes on. They put their own annotations. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, let me show you some more. Hold on. Where you see on the sides of the book, there's annotations and notes that they take. So it's all fictional, you know what I'm saying, as far as like the actual book itself. Like, but what I'm focused on again, there's truth in it. There's some shit that you need to get into. So like I said, there's different authors taking notes on, you know what I'm saying, the shit that they read in these books. So what it's supposed to show is that the Book of Sith is something that Lord or Emperor Palpatine or Darth Sidious had, but when he got defeated in the Return of the Jedi movie, Luke Skywalker got a hold of this book. So Luke is making notes. He's taking notes all over this book. So the very first page, he's talking about um, him discovering this Book of Sith, and then like I said, he's taking notes on each book in this book, or each section in this book. He's giving his thoughts, like the things that he experienced, things that he agrees with, things that he doesn't agree with. And it's a pretty creative thing to do, because they also have its companion book, um Jedi the Secret Path, or something like that. So that's another book that I'm also get to after I'm, you know what I'm saying, I already read this, but like I said, in near future, I'm gonna get the Jedi book too. So again, it's just different fictional characters taking notes on this book too. So you got Mace Windu taking notes. You got Sidious taking notes on, you know what I'm saying, different of all these books. He's taking notes on all of it because it's really his compilation. You know what I'm saying? Darth Vader takes fucking notes in some of these books. You know what I'm saying? But the core of what I'm getting at is this book is about alchemy. They're talking about alchemy directly. And as an alchemist, I'm paying attention. You know what I'm saying? I'm paying the motherfucking attention. Learn to use the black side of the force. So they talk about everything. They talk about how to fucking make a lightsaber, how to make a holocron, a crystal holocron. Because what a crystal holocron is that it's a device where you can store your consciousness in, or your spirit inside of this crystal, and you can perhaps like put that crystal somewhere for other people to find, and once they find the crystal, they can turn on the device, and then your spirit comes forth like a hologram, and it reveals secrets and shit. But they do a lot of vicious shit too. So if you come across somebody's holocron and they cursed it, like if you try to access it and you don't have the power to deal with the curse, it'll fuck you up. So it's booby trap and shit. And I like that type of stuff because it's like, yo, I don't want to share my knowledge with motherfuckers that don't appreciate it. I don't want to share my information with people that aren't worthy of having it. Now I'm sitting here making YouTube videos because it's like, this is public. It'll be public knowledge. Anybody can watch it. You know what I'm saying? But as far as the good shit, the depthical shit, it'll never make it on fucking social media in any form or shape or fashion. You know what I'm saying? Learn to use the black side of the force. You'll know what I'm talking about. But I have to say, the most interesting section or book in this book is the book where Darth Plagueis the Wise. I love his fucking book in here because he deals with alchemy and occult microbiology. And like I said, if you're watching, I don't know how, if you just watching my shit now, or you're somebody that has already watched some of my stuff on my channel on YouTube, you know, my whole thing is microbiology and alchemy. I just put out a whole series on my dream genome thesis, talking about, you know what I'm saying, Judy K. King's work with the balls of fire ISIS thesis. Then I put out occult microbiology 101, where I'm talking about the occult or the metaphysical side of microbiology that you're not going to get in Western science. And knowing how to decipher or decrypt or decode alchemy, to know that a lot of what is being said in those alchemical books is talking about something going on in the microscopic level of your body. This book here deals with it directly. So this book in the Book of Sith is the science of creating life. So Darth Plagueis is the master to Darth Sidious. Because that's what you have to understand about the Sith. The Sith deal with masters and apprentices, just like the Jedi do in this whole Star Wars thing. So these different factions that deal with certain. Okay, the Sith deal with passion. They're all about passion, whereas the Jedi are more about peace and making sure that order is restored to the galaxy. They deal with peace and, you know what I'm saying, the light side and freedom for all, and, you know what I'm saying, very liberal type of motherfuckers on the Jedi side of the thing. You know what I'm saying? But this deals with passion. So these Sith lords deal with tapping into your rage, your anger, your lust, like tapping into those dark emotions and allowing those dark emotions to give power to your magic, or to, you know what I'm saying, your metaphysical applications, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So that's really the beef between Jedi and Sith. Like, what approach should you take towards the Force and the Spirit? So, like I said, these 6 authors in this book say that you should tap into your rage, your anger, because that'll make you a more powerful user of the Force, or a more powerful entity using, or, you know what I'm saying, flowing with the Force, or applying the Force. And in dealing with the Force, again, you have all these different abilities, such as you can fly, you can manipulate fire, you can manipulate people's minds, you can manipulate the cells in people's body, or the microscopic organisms in their body, like Darth Plagueis is talking about. You can do all types of stuff with that. But the more you deal with your passions, see, the only thing with your passion is that you have to be able to be disciplined at the same time. So if you're passionate but you have no discipline, that's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for your own self-destruction. So I stress that discipline shit. You know what I'm saying? And those out there that have signed up for my spiritual warfare training, they're going to get that discipline. They're going to learn how to discipline themselves so that they can be more efficient and effective at being a spiritual warrior. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't respect when there's no discipline going on. I don't even like working with people who do not have discipline. Like, they don't know how to apply the right type of force or the right type of energy for a situation, and they just out of fucking control. That motherfucker is on the it's that he or she is on a path of their own self-destruction. And they're gonna bring down anybody that's with them. So it's like, no, I can't really fuck with you like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you'll mess around and do some shit that is not required or necessary. You're being real fucking extra. You know what I mean? And I don't believe in being extra. But again, some people do. It's going back to what I already said. You know what I mean? My perspective is not going to be the same as yours. Not going to be exactly the same. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be. So if you want to be the motherfucker out here being all out of control, and you know what I'm saying, you just doing all types of, dark shit that you think you're doing, and you know what I'm saying, well, do that. It's just that I can't fuck with you as you're doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because then you think you're really doing something advanced or whatever, but nah, you on your own path of self-destruction. And then you're misaligned and malignant while you're doing it. You're cancerous and misaligned and malignant while you're doing it, and you think you're doing something real powerful. It's like, nah, man, like, you can get murked like that. But I digress and shit. You know what I'm saying? I didn't mean to go off on that. But so when we talk about Darth Plagueis, like I said, he was the one that taught, or was the master to the Emperor. So this character never made it into the movies. He was supposed to. Because I would have liked to see Darth Plagueis. Because Darth Plagueis is the one where, like I said, when you watch the movie Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, that came out in 2005, there's a scene where um, Sidious, or Palpatine, you know what I'm saying, he has 2 different names. Palpatine is having a discussion with Anakin Skywalker. because Anakin Skywalker, we know, becomes Darth Vader. So this is before, in this movie, this is right before Anakin turns to Darth Vader. So there's a scene in the movie where Palpatine and Anakin are talking amongst each other. They're watching some sort of like circus play, or not circus play, like some sort of um stage spectacle. Like it's like a theater of some sort. And they're in the stands or whatever, and Palpatine tells Anakin the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Darth Plagueis had the ability, and he tapped into the power of being able to create life and manipulate life. He had the ability to produce life just by manipulating the midi-chlorians in the microscopic level of someone's body to create life. And it's strongly implied that that's how Anakin Skywalker was born. Like Plagueis or whoever manipulated the mitochondria inside of Anakin's mother's body, and that's how she became pregnant without having sex. So for all you niggas that's into immaculate conception and parentogenesis, like you don't need uh a man's nut to, get pregnant and shit like that. Um which I'm not a stern believer of, but like I said, I guess with this type of shit, they can manipulate. Because like I said, we already dealt with, or I don't know if you already noticed, but the whole thing about the midi-chlorians, because this is something that was introduced to Star Wars in 1999 with the release of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. They started talking about the midi-chlorians. And that was supposed to be these microscopic entities within the body of living creatures that are I guess, the trustees or the fiduciaries or the controllers of the force within that person's body. So the more midi-chlorians you have in your body, the greater your capacity to use the force. You know what I'm saying? But what we already then deciphered, and it's pretty simple, is that the midi-chlorians is actually the mitochondria that's in the cells of your body. And like I said, I've already showed you, like, the two words are very similar to each other. Like you have mitochondria, midi-chlorian. But like I said, it's this book where they sit here and tell you the metaphysics of your mitochondria. So you only, like I said, you deal with Western science, you deal with, Greco-Roman approach to shit. They only tell you about like mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell that is responsible for the production of ATP that gives energy to the cells of your body, right? See, that's the physical mechanical side of it. But then there's a whole metaphysics to it. Learn to use the black side of the force. So let's just deal with that part of it. Let's just deal with the mitochondrial midi-chlorians. Because I've dealt with this subject before if you're following my work. I've dealt with this. I dealt with this shit before. So I'm dealing with Darth Plagueis's information here in this book. So he sits here and says, all living things, regardless of their planet of origin, appear to possess midichlorians or complementary biological structures. The reasons for this isomorphism are unknown, but the results of my experiments into abiogenesis have shifted my present focus significantly. Of considerable interest is the fact that while most cellular organelles, and organelles are the parts of the cell, he said, while most cellular organelles generate chemical energy, midi-chlorians generate force energy. So it's through these midi-chlorians, mitochondria, that the force comes through a living creature. They also appear to possess a single unified consciousness linked via the pneuma and can be influenced by the host's mental state. In particular, negative emotions such as the loss of hope can induce cellular necrosis. And then he goes to talk about typical blood concentration is around 2,500 midichlorians per cell. Cutting this concentration in half will usually induce death. I conclude that the force energy required for life And that midichlorians are its biological vector. So we're dealing with that word vector again when we talk about viruses and shit like that. But what is he talking about? See, the key part of that whole explanation right there is that the midichlorians are all part of a single unified consciousness. Learn to use the black side of the force. If the midichlorians are part of the same consciousness, so that means the midichlorians in my body, or the mitochondria, let's keep it real, the mitochondria in my body, the mitochondria in your body, the mitochondria in his body, her body, their body, they all share a unified hive mind, a unified consciousness that they're a part of. See, when you're dealing with the black side of the force, we learn to tap into that fucking unified field of consciousness. Because you need to, like, you would need to understand, like, what, like, for example, just on a mundane, non-occult level, like, what do we know about mitochondria? The fact that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It takes everything that you eat, for example, and turns it into ATP energy. So without that mitochondria there, you wouldn't have the energy in your body to do anything, whether it's to run, talk, think, have sex, or whatever. You wouldn't have that if you didn't have the energy in the cells of your body. So your mitochondria is responsible for generating that energy for you to use. You see what I'm saying? So what's being said in this here, what's being revealed, is that all the mitochondria in your body and in anybody else's body, all are part of the same flow or same river, the same current. So when you get into the black side of the force, Mike Dun Dun, we tap into that current. So did you know that, like for example, the mitochondria is also responsible for cell death? So though it can generate energy into the cell, it can also kill a cell, can destroy it. Like he even talks about necrosis in this book, the Darth Plagueis character. So necrosis is where the cell breaks down and disintegrates and it dies. And then you have the process of apoptosis where it's a programmed cell death. So there's certain cells that die because their death is required so that your body can be shaped into and be formatted into what it needs to be. So it's almost like the certain cells die for the the perpetuation of your own body and life. So it's like those cells make a sacrifice, and that's all controlled, according to Western science, it's controlled by the mitochondria in your cells of your body. So the mitochondria is responsible for what? Life and death inside of a creature. And we just revealed that the midichlorian slash mitochondria all share the same mind. They're all part of the same unified consciousness. So when we get into the black side of the force, we tap into that. It's a state. It's a flow state. It's a current that you tap into. So once you tap into that type of current, why would I then need to deal with any type of spirits or demons or anything that you want to talk about with all that? Why would I need to deal with that when I can just tap into this flow state and be more powerful than any of you niggas dealing with that fucking demon shit that you deal with? So you got to go to other spirits to get your power. You see that? You see how I did that, sweet brother, sweet sister? You got to go to the spirits to get your power. I just tap into the power I already had for so long. So you deal with spirits that they don't even have to obey your motherfucking command. They can play you the fuck out. You ever got scammed in the conscious community, or you ever just got scammed, period, where you sent money and you didn't get what you fucking paid for? It ever happened to you? There's a lot of horror stories in the conscious woke community of these, motherfuckers on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook where they're scamming a lot of people. They're scamming them with the status correction. They're scamming them with products. You know what I'm saying? Not giving motherfuckers their money back and shit. Like, it's a lot of scamming, like doing these retreats. You know what I'm saying? You got these woke, conscious women out here playing other women out because they like to focus this shit on men all the time, and they don't look at the women who be out here scamming people, like setting up these retreats and then charging people like $2,500 for the retreat and then running away with the money. So if you think humans would do that, a spirit could do that to your ass too. That shit can backfire on you. So that's the risk you deal with when you deal with trying to petition spirits to do your will, right? What if you just deal with your own fucking power? You tap into your own energy with the mitochondria in your body. You know what I'm saying? Why not? Because this mitochondria is going to be with you from the day you're born to the day you die. So one of the things, like I said, it's interesting that they put this in a Star Wars book. It's interesting that they put this in here, that they're talking about how your mitochondria share the same mind, or are part all mitochondria within the cosmos. They're part of the same unified consciousness that you can, like a pool that you can go skinny dip into. So when they talk about the fountain of youth, or they, saying the Lazarus, I don't know if you know about Ra's al Ghul from Batman comics, like the old dude that, he's kind of like a mentor to Batman. You can even watch the movie Batman Begins, where they have Liam Neeson plays the character Ra's al Ghul. But what they don't show you in the movie is that how does he stay young? Like he done lived century to century to century. How does he do that? Again, within the comics, Ra's al Ghul has the Lazarus pits. So it's this pit of this certain type of liquid substance that he can swim into, or he can get into, like it's like a jacuzzi and shit, and it restores his youth. So he can look like he's 60 something years old, but once he gets into that Lazarus pit and saying, puts it up under his arms and brushes his teeth with it and put it all over his body, he looks like a 30-year old man again. You see what I'm saying? But that's something you do outside of yourself. See, we're dealing with the unified consciousness of your own fucking mitochondria. So when you tap into that, guess what? Because he talks about it in this book here, the Darth Plagueis. Here, I'll read it to you verbatim. What he said. That's real shit, dun. He really speaking on it. What does he say? Hold on, what does he say? He said, because midichlorians are linked by a universal mind, again, mitochondria, because this is important for all you like women out there, for example, that were into, or that are into the whole thing about the mitochondrial Eve. Like the fact that, women, um, you get your mitochondria from your mother, you know what I'm saying? And then it goes back into history where there was the first woman who had mitochondria. And then, like I said, it's the mitochondria. You get the mitochondria from your mother. And you get the Y chromosome from the father. So it's the father that gives the male whole thing about the man and whatever. And so what was the other? And then, like I said, like the whole thing about parentogenesis, like how you can, as a woman, you can, give birth without having the sperm cell or whatever. It's like, yeah, on a human level, that's nothing that we have to deal with, because on a human level, you would still have to get a nut. Like someone's have to bust a nut on your eggs for you to be pregnant on the human level. You know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna try to come at it like a human on that shit, it's like, nah, that's not gonna happen. You'd have to know how to manipulate mitochondria, as far as or deal with mitochondria and work with your mitochondria to do that. Like it's being talked about in this book. This book talking about Star Wars. You think it's just lightsabers and fucking battleships battling each other and going to war in the sky? It's like, nah, it goes more depthical than that, my friend. Learn to use the black side of the force. Yeah, for real. So let me go back to what's being said. Said because midichlorians are linked by a universal mind, the ones in my own cells seem to resist this imposition upon their fellows. Meaning he's trying to manipulate the midichlorians or mitochondria in these other creatures. But eventually I succeeded. First with small creatures, then with slaves purchased from the huts, which is, Jabba the Hutt, that little blubby, big blubby, just nasty looking thing that you remember in like the Return of the Jedi. In Jabba the Hutt, he had the big eyes and he looked like a fat ass fucking worm, like a big ass walrus. And Luke had to, I guess, fight against him to free his sister and all them, and to get Han Solo out of that carbonated tar mold he was trapped in. So yeah, that's the Hutts. I forced the midichlorians to override their natural life cycles. What I discovered is that these midichlorians would not die. Instead, they drew upon sustaining force energy, which acted on a microscopic level to halt tissue decay in their host, putting an end to aging and disease. So they're sitting here telling you in this Star Wars book the secrets to immortality, or the secrets to anti-aging and anti-disease. They're sitting here telling you right here in the book. But again, you would have to know what is there? What are they talking about when they say midichlorian? What are you really saying? What are you talking about? Again, it's so easy to decipher. Midichlorian, mitochondria. Midichlorian, mitochondria. Mitochondria, mitochlorian. You can even start to mix the word up if you want to, the two terms up if you need to. You'll be talking about the same thing. But again, it's like you'd have to be interested in Star Wars enough to even know this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like right there within the cells of your body right now, the mitochondria are keeping you alive, giving you the energy, or at least playing a part in giving you some energy to keep you alive right now. And then they're responsible for your death. So they deal with the life and death function of your entire body. And they're all linked by universal mind. And like I said, I forced the midichlorians to override their natural life cycle. So there's no more dying and birthing. There's no more of that. You have transcended that loop. He's getting to the root of the loop. Like I said in previous videos, he's getting to the root of the loop. Because what's the loop? Birth, life, death. Birth, life, death. Birth, life, death. So what he's doing here is saying we're going to transcend that circle. We're no longer in that cycle. So by that terminology, or by that understanding, you are functionally immortal. And they drew upon sustaining life force energy, which had the ability to halt tissue decay. So that means now the cells do not need outside energy or outside sources like food, water, and oxygen to survive. It is a self-sustained unit now. It's drawing on that infinite life force universal mind energy. So when you're drawing that type of energy into you to do whatever you do, why the fuck do I need to work with spirits to that extent? Because still, you can still manipulate. You can probably even better manipulate these spirits out here that y'all deal with when you tap into this flow state that we're talking about. This is when you tap into this hive mind of your mitochondria. See, that's power, my friends. Learn to use the black side of the force. And it brings up an interesting topic of, okay, a lot of you niggas like to talk about occult subjects and magic and all this stuff, but it's like you're bypassing your physicality as if your physicality does not matter in the situation, and it does. If you're having a fucking human experience, your body is going to matter to some degree. See, it's all about, are you a fucking it's all about, let me put it like, put this down for a minute. It's all about who's in control of the body. Is it you, or is it some other force intelligence, right? Because again, for the average living creature, the average being, the average human, your mitochondria, or the intelligence of your mitochondria, is in charge of you living and dying. In this whole shit, this one book, just this one book of these 7 different books in this whole thing, just the book where we're dealing with the science of creating life with Darth Plagueis the Wise, this Sith Lord, fictional Sith Lord. He's talking about saying, okay, when you deal with the mitochondria, when you sway them to do this or sway them to do that, we can transcend death. We don't have to deal with death anymore. So again, like I said, I don't know to the extent of what these some of these Caucasoids are out here, or any of these scientists in the Western world. I don't know what extent they go to achieve anti-aging and immortality. But it's like, yo, right here in this fictional ass book, we know now how to do it. We at least know that in this fiction, there's a truth that we can try to build upon and try to research more to get more information on. We're dealing with the metaphysics of these microscopic organisms. Now, like I said, when you read the whole Judy K. King thing with the Isis thesis, Balls of Fire, and all her works or whatever, she deals with some of this to an extent, like how you can, merge your DNA with the DNA that's in that phage lambda virus or whatever, and you become that bioluminescent being. See, that's a flow state where she's talking about the whole bioluminescent thing. That's a flow state. That's a flow state that we're talking about. So even if we don't even know like the morphology of what you're, even if we don't know that, for example, you turn into a blue creature after that's done. Well, even if you didn't know that, even if that's not what happens or whatever, the fact that she's talking about you become a cold light bioluminescent being, meaning that you do not have to draw your energy from eating, um, breathing in oxygen, or doing any of the things that normal creatures do. You are now self-sustained unit. You have now tapped into a flow state, or become part of a flow state, or a universal mind, or a divine hive mind, where you are now functionally immortal, where you have an infinite fucking tank, or infinite vast ocean of energy to draw from to do anything that you do. So you went from your own human mind state into a brand new bioluminescent state. And then there's the science, the microscopic or the microcosmic science of dealing with that. So again, like I said, don't stop trying to skip past the body. You have to still deal with your body, because then I have to ask you, for example, how much control do you have over the functions of your own corporation, of your own body? And most of you cannot really give me an answer, as far as, like I said, you don't control your blood flow. You don't control when you go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning. You don't control that until you do. So that's how I know this is another way of assessing how woke, or how fucking conscious, or how fucking advanced someone is. Can they even like control certain parts of their body, you know what I'm saying, without it being on autopilot? Because it's just like a fucking child-parent relationship. Your ego is the child, and the intelligences that control the rest of your body is really like the parent. And when it comes to parent-child relationship, you remain the child until you can prove, and until you can reach the level that you are now an adult. The government works the same way. even in its corruption. The government's whole idea is, look, we need to govern these people because they cannot govern themselves. And the idea is supposed to be, until these people have the ability to govern themselves, we will govern them. But like I said, they have become corrupt where it's like, nah, we're just going to govern you indefinitely, no matter how adult you seem to be or how mature you have become. And now you know that's a form of corruption then. You know what I'm saying? But the same concept deals with your own fucking corpus, your own body. So motherfuckers trying to escape the body, it's like, yo, you don't even control the body. So it's like, even if you try to escape, the intelligences in your body are going to bring you right back to that fucking childlike state. That childish state that you've already been in. Like, you don't control nothing in your body. And that's a true test of a motherfucker that has the power and has the magic and the ability. So again, when you have proven to yourself or proven to these intelligences that you can take over those functions, that's when you start to gain the power. Because you can even see this play out in the movie Lucy. That's basically what this Caucasoid woman is doing. You know what I'm saying? It's artificial, but this is basically the run of the movie. She's gaining more and more power and control over herself and those around her. That's a level of advancement that you would be. That's an example. You know what I'm saying? Learn to use the black side of the force. That's what we deal with. We're tapping into that flow state. You see what I'm saying? So you want to ask the questions, well, what happens when you die, or what do you do when you die? Nigga, you don't have to fucking die like that. When you tap into these mitochondrial flow state or this universal mind, and you learn to sway it and you learn to control it and you learn to transcend that life death or birth life death cycle. Because again, I dealt with this shit about the whole getting to the root of the loop type of thing. Get out of the fucking loop. So it would stand to reason that these mitochondria or the intelligence of this mitochondria, it plays a part in reincarnation. Because again, they control life, birth, death within your body. If the mitochondria decide to say it's your time, nigga, it's your time. You gotta go. Or at least your incarnation stops there and maybe starts over again in another incarnation. So what I'm learning to do, and like I said, those who have already signed up for my spiritual warfare training, especially the ones that have gotten into the offense track, that's what I'm teaching them. That's what they're going to learn. That's going to be a part of the lesson in dealing with this type of shit right here. I love how this shit is here. And like I said, going back to this book, Darth Plagueis says, my experiments proved midichlorians or mitochondria could be controlled. If this is true, then could they not also be induced to create life at the monocellular level or the molecular level? He even goes more depthically and says mitochondria midichlorians in the cells of a mother could, in theory, be persuaded to craft a zygote. Learn to use the black side of the force. If new life could be created where none existed before, the living could sustain their bodies indefinitely. So again, like I said, like You don't even control that. You just go with the flow of that, don't you? Talking about some go with the flow. Y'all niggas go with the flow with that. You don't get into different flows. You're in the human flow. You're in the human narrative. You're in the human loops. You know what I'm saying? You're in the human carousel. And right here in this Star Wars book, it's telling you how to get out of it. How to get off the carousel. Or how to get to the center of the carousel. Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? However you want to word it. You can word it any type of way that you want. You know what I mean? But we can now even get into the metaphysics, because like I said, there may be people out there that think that this is just all physical science and there's no metaphysics involved. Like, well, let me show you where in this same fucking Star Wars book, Book of Sith, they're talking about it. So he talks about influencing the midichlorian slash mitochondria. So I'm just gonna read it to you, because you know how lovely and like supporting and like consultative my voice is. So we're gonna do it like that. I'm gonna use the black side of the force. Look, the force is found throughout the universe, not only in living things. Very important. Everything in existence that draws upon various aspects of the energy we call the force may be classified into three categories. So this is shit that, again, you probably know about the force just watching a couple Star Wars movies. But here in this shit, it's talking about there's three aspects of it. So now we get more depthical with this whole thing. So the aperion, which is one aspect of the force, includes and unites all matter, giving it shape and cohesion. Aspects of the aperion include gravity and electromagnetism, though the term encompasses everything in both space and time. That's important, because now what he's saying about the aperion, I wrote here as in my notes here, four forces of the universe. So the four forces of the universe is what? He gave you two of them: gravity, electromagnetism, and then there's weak nuclear force and strong nuclear force. So he didn't get into the the whole proton atom um force, and then the weak nuclear force where you deal with radiation and radioactive decay and all that stuff. So the aperion, there's a word for it. Even, you know what I'm saying? Even though that's probably a made up word, or a word that, like I said, I don't know where they got that word. I got to research that word. Aperion, Aperion. So the aperion is a force state or flow state that, like I said, it controls and unites all matter, giving it shape and cohesion. So if you go to my hierarchical chart of mind to material, aperion would be the forces that deal with um the function of everything in the cosmos, down to the very atom in proton, electron, neutron, gluon, ups, down, quarks, and all that shit that you deal with in particle physics. A perion keeps all this shit together. So imagine having energy or control, or being empowered by the aperion of level of things. So that means you could create shit out of nothing. This is alchemy, my done. Learn to use the black side of the force. Then we get into hold on, I ain't finished with that one. Okay, so aspects of the aperion include gravity, electromagnetism, though the term encompasses everything in both space and time. So space-time, or spatio-temporal space-time continuum that you call the physical dimension or the physical plane. Many of the abilities understood as belonging to the unified force are tied to the aperion. So the unified force, they say, would be the light side of the force. So because there's an earlier book in this whole thing where Mother Talzin, she's a part of the Night Sisters. I think women would really love that book. You know what I'm saying? Because she be shitting on males and that shit. She shit on the men in that one. But Mother Talzin, like I said, she's this figure that was she don't, like, with her or her character, she's more along the lines of, she doesn't make a split between the force. Like she says, we don't deal with the light or dark side of the force. We don't deal with those terms. We just use the force. You know what I'm saying? We don't make that split. And this is something I talked about earlier, you know what I'm saying, in this video. Like they don't make that fucking separation of light and dark. They don't do that. To do that means that, you know what I'm saying, you have a limited understanding of what the force is. They don't deal with it in those fucking dichotomy terms of light and dark. It's just the force. But what you do, like for example, we deal with certain levels of the force. For example, there's a unifying force and the living force. So we just deal with the living, or for example, when we deal with the Aperion side of the force, we're dealing with that unifying force. You know what I'm saying? The force where it's like we deal with um, the side of things that includes and unites all matter, giving it shape and cohesion. So then we deal with the second version of the force. This is all metaphysical. The anima gives life. So there's the anima side, or not side of a force, but the aspects of the force. The anima gives life, but not thought, to animals, plants, and other living things or living beings. Midichlorians are responsible for inducing and sustaining anima in almost all species. Many of the living force abilities are tied to the anima. So the anima, not the anima when we're talking about Carl Jung's um, construct of psychology. We're going beyond his shit. So the anima, because in Jungian psychology, the anima represents the female within the psyche or the mind. You know what I'm saying? And what you could probably still apply it to this type of thing we're talking about here, but we're going beyond that. So the anima is the life principle. So anything that is living or has life, even if it doesn't have conscious understanding or conscious knowledge or intelligence or whatever, anything that has life, that is the realm of the anima aspect of the force. Mitochondria are responsible, or mitochondria midichlorians are responsible for inducing and sustaining anima in almost all species. So and then when they talk about the living force, that's supposed to be the dark side of the force. But again, we're dealing with, even when we talk about the character Mother Townsend in this book, she doesn't deal with light or dark. She don't deal with good or evil. She's beyond good or evil. You want a better understanding of that? Just watch the X-Men animated series where they have that saga Beyond Good and Evil, where the apocalypse is going beyond good and evil. He's going beyond the shit. He's going beyond the circles of time to recreate the entire cosmos. So we don't deal with, oh, is this good or bad? No, nigga, we deal with what's possible. We deal with our power. And what them saying, or what this is saying as far as like the mitochondria or midichlorians are responsible for inducing and sustaining anima in almost all species. Well, what if you tap into that? What if you partner with that? What if you control that through your own sheer force of will? You wouldn't even have to sit here and distract yourself with these little magic tricks that you may do at your altar. You don't have to do that now. I control my own life force, and I can do with it what I wilt, right? Instead of just like I said, you're just trying to petition the spirit to do your bidding. It's like we don't have to do that. We deal directly with the life force, the anima itself. So I can shut your fucking anima right off. I can sever it, or I can keep it going if I had that power or that high or that rank of control over that. Because in this same section of the book, Darth Plagueis the Wise, he talks about how, life isn't all that, it's not all that special. Billions of creatures are born each day, billions of creatures die each day. So how is life all that so special? It's like there's billions and billions upon billions upon billions and billions, trillions of living things right now that billions are going to die today, as well as other billions are going to be born. So I mean, why put so much importance on life like that? Why cherish it that much when, saying billions are going to die, billions are going to be born? And that's just a perspective. You, like I said, you may have a different, you may cherish life on your human level, that on your human narrative. That may be your shit. Doesn't have to be everybody's shit. And it doesn't mean that anybody's right or wrong, or just completely wrong for having that viewpoint of things. Doesn't mean that. And then we get into the third aspect of the force, which is the pneuma, which is Pneuma, the pneuma, because the P is silent, right? So the pneuma is the expression of conscious thought thinking. You know what I'm saying? It's the expression of conscious thought. So anything that has an intelligence or has a sentience, a sapience, that can think, that can reason, that can have its own self-awareness, have a gnosis of things. The pneuma is this pool of mind. It's a hive mind of all intelligences, is all within this mind. So thinking, self-aware minds contribute to the collective pneuma, which is accessed by many naturally telepathic species, as well as by various mind tricks of the Jedi and the Sith. So when the Jedi use their mind tricks, they're tapping into the pneuma. When the Sith tries to control your mind and manipulate you and compel you to do shit, they're tapping into the pneuma. So pneuma is a wavelength of the force that you can control minds. You can get any type of information out of the pneuma. But you got to learn to tap into the pneuma. These are flow states that we're talking about. So you can tap into the aperion, the anima, and the pneuma through your own sheer force of will. Learn to use the black side of the force. And it's right here in this Star Wars book. You would think that some kids would buy this and be like, oh, I'm gonna be like Darth Vader when I grow up. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be like Darth Maul and shit. I'm gonna, control the galaxy and shit like that. This is a fictional book. Like none of this shit really happened in real life. It's fictional. It's just like if you was a fan of I don't know, Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or Pokemon or something like that. It's just like a fictional world and it has fictional characters, but they took time to put real truth into the book. Metaphysical, microbiological, spiritual, occult, alchemical shit in this book. You gotta know what to look for, man. You gotta have the nose. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have the nose for this shit. You know what I mean? And then you go to the next page and he says, this is Darth Plagueis talking. These fundamental forces would exist even without midichlorians. However, midichlorians or mitochondria, are the beneficiaries of an unusually strong connection to all forms of physical and psychic energy. So that means, again, these mitochondria are damn near one and the same with the force. They're vectors of it. They carry it. It works through them. So it means it stands to reason that they have a knowledge of it above any other type of living creature. Because again, the mitochondria are linked by a hive universal current of mind. And we learn to tap into that current. And not just the mitochondria, we learn to tap into the pneuma and the aperion to do what we need to do. So again, you may be sitting here dealing with spirits, but you're not really tapping into your own energetic flow states that you have access to. That you know what I'm saying? If you have the sheer force of will and you do the certain type of exercises and whatever to tap in. Because it reminds me of what I was doing all the way back in 2011. when I got into embryonic breathing. That was a flow state that I tapped into. Because that's where, when you tap into that, that means you no longer need to breathe through your mouth and nose anymore. I tapped into that. In 2011, I tapped into that shit. Because I didn't know what it was called. Like, I was doing these meditations, and then all of a sudden, like, yo, my lungs ain't fucked up. Like, what the fuck is going on? And this shit lasted for, I say, a good 15 to 20 minutes. Because then I took a shower. You know what I'm saying? I remember the shit. Took a shower. And when I was in the shower, none of that shit happened. Or no, what I'm saying, no, none of the breathing, the regular breathing, was still shut off. And I didn't know what the fuck happened. Because like I said, I didn't have knowledge of what I just did by meditating that way. So now I know. I simply shut off my ability to breathe. I didn't need to breathe. I didn't need to do that anymore. So that showed me that when you tap into that state indefinitely, you don't need fucking oxygen. You don't need oxygen after that. And if you keep tapping into it, you probably won't need to, you don't need to eat. You don't need to do none of that. So all you niggas talk about some breatharians and light Aryans, like you breathe air as your food source. You don't even need to do that. You can go beyond that. Yeah, you can. Just learn to use the black side of the force. They don't be doing that. So, like I said, it's like, again, we don't need to deal with spirits to compel them to do our will. I don't have to do that with y'all. If I'm gonna deal with any spirits, I'm gonna deal with my Nananom Samanfo. I'm gonna deal with my Christ ancestors with that. You need to deal with these other fucking spirits that do shit, or these spirits that come into you, or you've been taught that they are some sort of deity. I don't have to deal with that. That's humans trying to protect. Again, you're giving, like I said, you're giving these offerings to these spirits that are parading themselves around as deities. So when you give them this, you give them that, they go do what you do. You don't have to fucking trouble yourself with that when you tap into these flow currents, these flow states. Like the flow state of the Aperion, the flow state of the anima, the flow state of the pneuma. Or dealing with the flow state of your own mitochondria that controls the life and death principle in your body. Because the midichlorians inhabit living cells, the host organism is able to draw upon this connection to the physical and psychic energy. Midichlorians are endosymbionts, meaning that they are in the cell of your body and they live within the cells of your body. It's like a mutual relationship. You know what I'm saying? So they have the cells as their home, and in return for that being a home for them, they give you your energy. You know what I'm saying? They die when the host dies, and no host can live if completely purged of midichlorians. You know what I'm saying? So this is just something that we're getting from Darth Plagueis the Wise. So he tapped into the metaphysics of your fucking microbiology. I even wrote down here Occult Microbiology 101. It's right here in this Star Wars shit. And he even says down here, the visible biology of the cell and its midichlorians is a product of the invisible interactions of the Aperion, anima, and the pneuma. So again, when you deal with the mitochondria and shit, that's what you get to tap into. That's what you get to tap into. So I'm on the verge of like this. This is what I do. This is what I'm on to. So that's why I'm, like I said, I'm trying to get a lot of y'all to get into my spiritual warfare training course. Get into the offense track where we do the field work. This is what we do. Sign up today. The link for that spiritual warfare training will be down here in the link of this video in the description section. Sign up. This is what we into. This is what we doing. We won't have to worry about spirits and trying to give. We don't have to deal with that. We deal with our ancestors, our Christ ancestors, bro, sis. I'm teaching my students right now how to tap into that, how to deal with that in the most efficient way, so that you're not doing it in a malignant or cancerous or a misaligned way that's going to cause you problems in the long run. Because when you deal with this level of spiritual warfare, there is no such thing as loss and defeat. We have the upper hand in the spiritual warfare. We have the upper hand. It's a guaranteed fucking victory. Join the winning team. Come on and join the winning team with us with spiritual warfare training. Again, it's down there in the link below for this video in the description section. Hold on, what else is being said in this book? Hold on 1 second, because I have some more notes and shit. So there's a whole page where he's talking about new explorations in the Force. You know what I'm saying? So he says, my work with midi-chlorians is rooted in what is traditionally considered the living force, or those energies attached to the anima and the pneuma. So he deals with the anima and the pneuma through dealing with these mitochondria. You know what I'm saying? So they're telling you in this book the metaphysics of something that is we mostly just deal with the physical level of that shit. So this is metaphysics. This is what I'm talking about. This is what my whole occult microbiology 101 ebook, which is for free, you can download it below in the description section of this video. And then, like I said, I have like 7 videos dealing with the commentary on that ebook. You know what I'm saying? Learn to use the black side of the force. You know what I'm saying? I compel you. I implore you to do it. You know what I'm saying? Do it. Because you gotta understand, like as a human, you are in a certain you're in that cycle. You're see when they talk about ego is a state that you're in. You're in a certain state, energetic state, where you're just dealing with the ego. You know what I mean? But then, like I said, there's different states you could get into. There's different energy state, flow state. So let me just read this here. The unifying force, or the aperion, is not specifically necessary for the creation and manipulation of life, but midi-chlorians channel it nonetheless. So midi-chlorians, or the mitochondria, channel these 3 different aspects of the force. As I look at the force in a new light, I have found new applications for these omnipresent states. So we learn to tap into these omnipresent states of infinite energy, infinite mind, and infinite cohesion and structure of the fucking cosmos. So we learn to transcend the ego state, or get out of the human loop state, to get into these omnipresent states. You see what I'm saying? This is what people are going to, this is what I'm teaching. This is the stuff that we actually do. We do the application of in my spiritual warfare training, especially when you get into the offense side of things, where we deal with the field work. So again, we're not just sitting here studying the microbiology or the Judy K. King work for, you know what I'm saying, to know stuff, or, you know what I'm saying, you're thinking that you're going to escape something. It's like, no, we just learned to tap into certain currents. I can help you tap into that current. You know what I'm saying? We're doing the work now. So again, I'm going to come back with a part 2 about this whole thing. I just wanted to deal with that introduction because there's so much more to be talked about. So again, my name is Alex Will. Catch me on Instagram at AlexWill64. And you can catch me at EtherRealist. Learn to use that black side of the force. I implore you. I beg you.